Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our live coverage of much anticipated return of Crew 8, starting today with the Crew Dragon Endeavour hatch closure. We hope you all are doing fine and excited about the upcoming Crew 8 return. Hello, everyone. I am Dipto Maitra and I'll be your commentator for today's Crew 8's return coverage. Before we move on, I want to take a moment to express our deepest gratitude to each of you for joining us today. On behalf of entire AstroYonder's team and our awesome moderators. Big thanks to our awesome YouTube community for being here as we bring you all the space launch coverages loaded with stats and deep insights. Your support means everything to us and we are super grateful to have you with us. We are super excited to bring you the live coverage of SpaceX's Crew-8 Dragon hatch closure as the crew prepares for their undocking, scheduled for 5:05 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be covering the entire event until splashdown, and both the undocking and splashdown streams are available on our channel. So consider tuning in. We would be glad to have you with us as we celebrate the conclusion of another human spaceflight mission with Crew 8's return. NASA astronaut Matthew Dominick, Mike Barratt, and Jeanette Epps, along with Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Grebenkin, are wrapping up their space mission. It's been a 7.5-month journey. To be exact, as of today, it's 7 months, 2 weeks, and 6 days, or you can say 233 days. They launched aboard the Dragon from Kennedy Space Center on March 3 at 10:53 p.m. Eastern Time. Crew 8 is the 8th crewed operational NASA commercial crew flight and the 13th overall crewed orbital flight of a Crew Dragon spacecraft. Crew 8 is the longest Crew Dragon mission so far, and it's pretty cool that SpaceX sent up its 50th astronaut with this launch. Dominick's in charge as commander, with Barratt as the pilot and Jeanette Epps and Grebenkin serving as mission specialist. They are all set for a parachute-assisted splashdown back on Earth on Friday, October 25th. The Crew Dragon Endeavour will automatically undock from the International Space Station. After doing a few burns to distance itself from the space station, the Dragon will lower its orbit, drop the trunk, and then re-enter Earth's atmosphere for a splashdown off the coast of Florida about 34 hours later on October 25th. They were supposed to undock on Tuesday, but NASA said the weather at the splashdown site was not looking good. And so for that, we are targeting today. NASA and SpaceX are targeting today, that is October 23rd, as at 5:05 p.m. Eastern Daytime for Crew 8's undocking, with the deorbit burn at 2:39 a.m. and splashdown at 3:29 a.m. Eastern Daytime on October 25th. For Matthew, Dominick, Jeanette Epps and Alexander Grebenkin is their first space flight, so nothing much is there to tell about their history in the space flight. But if we look at the Michael Barratt's previous flight records, he is having a total time in space of 445 days as of now. He performed total 3 EVAs, which is extravehicular activities, which amounts to a EVA time of 5 hours and 37 minutes. This is his third space flight. Previously, he served in 2 more human space flight. First was the Soyuz TMA-14 for the expedition 1920, and secondly he joined there in the STS 133 mission to the International Space Station. Right now he is there as a crew member of SpaceX Crew-8, serving for expeditions 70, 71 and 72. So now let's move on. I guess it's time for the webcast to begin. Well, we are just 18 seconds away from that. Well, meanwhile, we have a request for you all joining us today. Hitting the like button helps YouTube's algorithm catch the drift and bring more space lovers our way, helping us to build a community with amazing space enthusiasts like you. And also consider subscribing to us. We'd be totally amazed to have you with us. Your support means the world, which inspires us to work more hard to provide live coverages filled with stats and thorough insights. Let's move on to the stream as it's time for the webcast to begin. Well guys, stream has started, so now sit back and enjoy the stream. Once again, just a reminder, we will be streaming the undocking as well as the splashdown event, so don't forget to tune in.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. We are live here in Mission Control Houston at the International Space Station's Flight Control Room at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Texas. This view, coming to you live from the International Space Station, is of the interior of Dragon Endeavour. Endeavour will be carrying home the Crew-8 astronauts and cosmonaut today with an undocking that's scheduled at approximately 4:05 p.m. Central, 5:05 p.m. Eastern. Dragon Endeavour arrived at the International Space Station 232 days ago.
Endeavour Houston, com check on the RF big loop. We've completed the configuration. No, it looks like you were trying to...
Dragon on the big loop, how's you loud and clear?
Yeah, roger that. I couldn't tell if you were trying to hear me or not. Go ahead and initiate a com check with MCCX.
And you just heard some of the procedures taking place to get ready for that undock. Dragon...
SpaceX Dragon on the big loop, com check.
Dragon, we've got you on the big loop loud and clear, and syncing back on LIO, your go for LIO cartridge 2 install and IMV duct teardown, 2.103, 3.1, how copy?
Copy, LIO cartridge 2, IMV duct teardown, we'll code.
Those you just heard are voices of our flight director on console today, Paul Kanya, alongside NASA astronaut Matt Dominick. Dragon Endeavour arrived at the International Space Station 232 days ago. In total, the spacecraft has spent 236 days in space by the time it splashes down off the coast of Florida. Splashdown is scheduled for Friday, October 25th at approximately 2:29 a.m. Central Time, 3:29 a.m. Eastern, and again, that is off the coast of Florida. Currently, teams here in Mission Control Houston and the teams in Hawthorne are working together in preparation for the undocking of the spacecraft. That's once again coming up today at 4:05 p.m. Central, 5:05 p.m. Eastern. Meanwhile, the crew aboard the space station are preparing for the same thing.
Dragon on the big loop. LIO cartridge 2 was in the active slot. Seals removed and put back in the active slot.
SpaceX copied.
And coming to you live are views of Dragon Endeavour's exterior as it's docked to the International Space Station. The space station is currently above the east coast or east side of Asia. We have 4 crew members returning to Earth that include NASA astronauts Commander Matt Dominick, NASA astronaut and Commander Matt Dominick, pilot Michael Barratt, mission specialist Jeanette Epps, alongside Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Grebenkin. Once again, splashdown is scheduled for Friday, October 25th at 2:29 a.m. Eastern, 3:29 a.m. Central. Crew-8 took 3,776 orbits of our Earth, and they traveled 100,132 statute miles. Once again, views are coming to you live from Dragon Endeavour, docked outside the International Space Station, that will be carrying the Crew-8 astronauts and cosmonaut home today, with an undocking that's scheduled at approximately 4:05 p.m. Central, 5:05 p.m. Eastern. You're now getting another look inside with the crew there on your screen. You can see Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Grebenkin as he gets secure in his seat, ready to get home. NASA astronaut Michael Barratt assisting him in the process. And to the far right of your screen, you'll also see NASA astronaut Jeanette Epps working with her colleague and NASA astronaut Commander Dominick as she gets suited up in her seat, ready for undock. The remaining crew members will have a chance to do the same and get into their flight suits once they are in their seats and completed all of their procedures to get ready for undock. The crew will remain in their spacesuits through undocking. Again, that undocking is taking place at approximately 4:05 p.m. Central, 5:05 p.m. Eastern. The crew will be able to doff their suits, but they're anticipating a splashdown on Friday morning at 2:29 a.m. Central, 3:29 a.m. Eastern off the coast of Florida. Between that time, they will be off duty in Dragon Endeavour. Once the undock command is set, it takes only a few minutes for the hooks to open and fully detach from Dragon from the space station.
Station Eastern Space Ground 2 for a Node 2 camera.
Hey Neil, heard you on 2. You like a Node 2 cam?
Yeah, I'd like to get a Node 2 camera set up and facing the hatch.
And work.
And that's the zenith hatch.
As mentioned, it only takes a few minutes for the hooks to open and fully detach Dragon from the space station. Once that happens, there'll be a few short firings of the thrusters.
SpaceX Dragon on the big loop. We're a few minutes ahead of schedule, just standing by your go for hatch closure, Dragon hatch closure.
Standby 1.
We'll go.
As you heard, we're gearing up for hatch closure.
And Houston Station on 2, node 2, camera 1.
Roger.
Once Dragon fully detaches itself from the space station, there will be a few short firings of the thrusters before Dragon starts to back away. Those are called the Dragon undock burns. Then we'll proceed into the departure burns, continuing to move away from the zenith port and the space-facing side of the International Space Station. Even though Crew-8 will be detached from the space station at that time, we'll still be in integrated operations with the International Space Station, as the crew will still be in the approach ellipsoid and keep out sphere. These are the invisible boundaries that we use in mission control to monitor the arriving and departing of visiting spacecraft. Once the crew and Dragon exit the approach ellipsoid, we will be out of the joint operations, and SpaceX will continue to control the rest of the flight, with Dragon autonomously flying the entire way home. Meanwhile, Mission Control will continue to monitor the crew of astronauts and cosmonaut. While we will not be on the air after we exit the approach ellipsoid, we will continue to provide periodic updates through our mission audio coverage, which you can find on nasa.gov. Once again, this view is of Dragon Endeavour, which will be bringing Crew-8 home after they will have spent a total of 236 days in space. Currently, teams here in Mission Control and the teams in Hawthorne are working together in preparation for the undocking of the spacecraft that's once again coming up at 4:05 p.m. Central, 5:05 p.m. Eastern.
Station Houston, Space Ground 2 for Butch and Dragon prep procedure.
This view coming to you live is of the International Space Station Flight Control Room here at NASA's Johnson Space Center. We have Flight Director Paul Kanya on console today.
Just checking, making sure you're done with through step 3.6 of 2.103 Dragon departure prep through hatch close.
And this view is coming to you live of a Dragon Endeavour docked to the International Space Station. Crew-8 continues to conduct and complete procedures.
He made it stowed in the bag. The APAS IMB is in the bag, and the IDA IMB is rolled back and underneath the bungee. What you looking for?
Yeah, that's what we're looking for. Thanks, Butch.
And Neil, update on the Butch deployed a new 1.0 serial number 5136 for the Zenith IMV duct. We couldn't find the 1.0 that was called out in the procedure.
Roger.
Aboard the International Space Station, we have Commander Sonny Williams of NASA, along with NASA astronaut Nick Hague, Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexei Ovchinin, Roscosmos cosmonaut Ivan Wagner, and NASA astronaut Butch Wilmore. We also have NASA astronaut Nick Hague, Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Grebenkin, and NASA astronaut Don Pettit. The Crew-9 crew that recently...
Just waiting on one last step here before we give you the go for hatch closure, so keep standing by.
Are we looking on that?
And we just heard that...
No problem. We're just a little bit ahead of schedule on our side. Happy to hang out.
And we are getting ready to get that go for hatch closure. The Crew-9 crew that recently arrived to the space station will remain on board for approximately 5 months, where they will continue to conduct science investigations and technology demonstrations.
Dragon SpaceX, your go for hatch closure, 2.103, 3.8.
2.103, 3.8, go for hatch closure.
And with that communication we just heard, we are go for hatch closure. Dragon Endeavour will be carrying the Crew-8 astronauts and cosmonaut home today with an undocking that's scheduled at approximately 4:05 p.m. Central, 5:05 p.m. Eastern. As Crew-9 conducts that science for the next 5 months, you can see some of that here with the crew stowage that you see on board Dragon. The crew worked to load these cargo bags as well as the cold payloads, bringing back that critical research.
On the big loop, hatch closed for event details.
Copy, hatch closed, and we're going to sequence the state machine to reflect that.
Copy. We see the CPRV open.
And with that, we heard that the hatch has closed, with all 4 crew members inside Dragon. Closest to your screen, you see Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Grebenkin. And on the furthest part of your screen, the crew member that you see in the flight suit over there is NASA astronaut Jeanette Epps. Meanwhile, Commander at Dominick and NASA procedures.
Second, Butch.
For hatch closure, I'm up to step 4 now. It looks like I can go to 5.3. Are you giving me to continue there and hold at 5.3?
Check it.
If you're just joining us at approximately 2:24 p.m. Central, 3:24 p.m. Eastern, the hatch for Crew-8's Dragon Endeavour has closed. Meanwhile, we will prepare for procedures as we get ready for undocking.
Hey, Butch, Houston back with you on 2. You're good to go up to step 5.3.
go for 5.3. Here we go.
And Butch, that's up to 5.3.
Once the crew undocks today, they will have spent approximately 236 days in space, and they're preparing to splash down off the coast of Florida on Friday. We anticipate that undocking will happen here in just a little bit at 4:05 p.m. Central, 5:05 p.m. Eastern, with our coverage going live at 3:45 p.m. Central, 4:45 p.m. Eastern. We're taking another look inside Dragon Endeavour as we prepare to undock from the International Space Station. We now have 3 out of the 4 crew members in their suits getting ready to be seated as NASA astronaut Michael Barratt, Splashdown of Crew-8 is scheduled for Friday, October 25th at approximately 2:29 a.m. Central, 3:29 a.m. Eastern, off the coast of Florida. Currently, teams here in Mission Control Houston and the teams in Hawthorne are working together in preparation for the undocking of the spacecraft.
Houston Station on 2 is photos of the PMA. Seals are on SSC 12.
Roger.
Crew-8 conducted new science to prepare for human exploration beyond low Earth orbit. Experiments included using stem cells to create organoid models to study diseases. They also studied the effects of microgravity and UV radiation on plants at a cellular level. And the crew also tested whether wearing pressure cuffs on the legs could prevent fluid shifts to reduce health problems in astronauts. These are just a few of more than the 200 scientific experiments and technology demonstrations that took place during their mission. Once the undock command is set for the crew, it takes a few minutes for the hooks to open and fully detach Dragon from the spacecraft, from the space station. The Crew-8 mission launched aboard the SpaceX's Dragon Crew spacecraft in March of this year. And this Dragon spacecraft is named Endeavour. It previously supported NASA's Demo 2, Crew 2, and Crew 6, as well as Axiom Space's AX-1 flights to and from the International Space Station. You are looking live inside Crew-8's Dragon Endeavour, where you see now all 4 crew members suited up in their flight suits, ready to undock from the International Space Station. Again, that undocking is taking place at 4:05 p.m. Central, 5:05 p.m. Eastern.
At Houston Station for regenerate a urine processor.
And Don, your go if you're looking for a go in that activity.
Looking for a go.
You got it.
Once the hooks are open and fully detached Dragon from the space station, there will be a few short firings of the thrusters. And that's before Dragon starts to back away, and those are called the Dragon undock burns. We'll then proceed into the departure burns, continuing to move away from the zenith port and space-facing side of the International Space Station.
Houston Station on 2 for a red exercise.
Go ahead.
Yes, FE5 is ready to begin a red exercise, and the Note 3 camera is set up for downlink.
Okay, and we got a good view.
And is there going to be a need for privatized loop or not for this exercise?
Nope, it'll be unsupported here on the ground, but we like the video.
Copy that.
SpaceX Dragon on the big loop, city com check.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop. That was a good suited comm check. Had you loud and clear. How me?
Loud and clear.
And with that, Matt, I've got a few updates for you. First, on the thermal control system, we commanded the hex bypass to allow crew control. It's on the max cooling setting right now. Quick reminder that cabin temp control is through procedure 4.080 until pre-chill prior to deorbit. How copy?
Dragon.
Okay, and with that, the next event I'm tracking is suit leak checks. When you're ready, your go for 4.011.
Hey, we are go for 4.011. Stand by. SpaceX Dragon on the big loop. We have 5.2. We've got good icon check amongst the crew.
And Dragon, I missed your last. Say again.
Reporting in 5.2. We got good icon check for all the crew, and we are procedure complete with suit donning. Moving on to suit leak checks.
SpaceX copies.
This view coming to you live is from the International Space Station. It's of Dragon Endeavour. Endeavour will be carrying the Crew-8 astronauts and cosmonaut home today. with an undocking that's scheduled at approximately 4:05 p.m. Central, 5:05 p.m. Eastern. Splashdown is scheduled for Friday, October 25th at approximately 2:29 a.m. Central, 3:29 a.m. Eastern off the coast of Florida.
SpaceX Dragon on the big loop. Mike went out with his settings for Dragon to ground. How did you read him?
We did not copy anything on Dragon to ground. Let us take another look at the config here. Hold off on any more comm checks for now.
Second copies, and with that, we'll keep pushing the leak check while you guys troubleshoot Dragon to ground.
Even though Dragon Endeavour will be detached from the space station, we will still be in integrated operations with the International Space Station, as the crew will still be in the approach ellipsoid and keep out sphere.
Go to execute 5 decimal turning subs.
Okay, closing hatch.
These are invisible boundaries that we use in Mission Control Houston to monitor the arriving and departing of visiting spacecraft. Once the crew and Dragon exit the approach ellipsoid, we will be out of joint operations, and SpaceX will continue to control the rest of the flight, with Dragon autonomously flying the entire way home. Meanwhile,
Dragon on the big loop. We are ready to pressurize in 2.2.
Standby 1, we've got a command here on the nitrox system. Standby 1.
Dragon standing by.
Houston Station on 2 for your transfer.
Hey, Don, can you meet me on space to ground 4, please?
We like him right here, Neil.
we'll take one more look inside Dragon Endeavour as we prepare to wrap up our hatch closure coverage this afternoon. Again, the hatch between Dragon and the International Space Station is now closed, with all the departing crew members inside. That hatch closed at 2:24 p.m. Central.
APAS equalization valve are closed, ready for Dragon IDA vestibule depress. And you want me to continue with step 7?
And that was a call for vestibule decompress, and that will take place as one of the procedures for undocking. Closest to your camera, you see Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Grebenkin, followed by NASA astronaut Michael Barratt, NASA astronaut Dominick, and NASA astronaut Jeanette Epps. We anticipate that docking will happen here in just a little bit at 4:05 p.m. Central, 5:05 p.m. Eastern, with coverage going live at 3:45 p.m. Central, 4:45 p.m. Eastern. That coverage will be joint coverage with NASA here in Mission Control Houston, as well as SpaceX.
Go to continue the procedure through step 7.
Thanks.
We will be back shortly, but for now, this is Mission Control Houston.
Hello guys, it's me Deepto from AstroYonder's team. With the successful hatch closure of the Dragon, that's a wrap for now. We'll be streaming the Crew-8 undocking event as well. The stream is already available on our channel, so be sure to tune in. And don't forget to follow AstroYonder on X for all the latest space news and updates on upcoming launches. Hope you had a blast watching with us. Big thanks to everyone who tuned in today. Also thanks to Optripika here, one of our moderator, and Angry Bird, Simon Haga, as well as Julia for tuning in for the first time. Now have a great day ahead. Thanks for watching. This is AstroYonder Live and me Deepto signing off for now, and we will see you next time.